Part 100. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Ge. Chapter 995. The night gradually deepened, and Qin Ji also completed the day's work. Although this is not the stage of a full-scale attack, but only maintenance and continued progress, the corresponding work has not been reduced at all. By the time I finish each day, it's almost 90 o'clock at night, and it's even possible that this time will be extended even further. But it was finished a little early today, and the work was completed around 8 o'clock. Thank you for your hard work, Jinhai. You can have a good rest tonight when you go back. I need you to tell Guanghui what to do here tomorrow, Qin Ji said with a smile while looking at Jinhai, who was packing up the desktop files. Haha, what's so hard about this? Being able to sit in the safest place and process these documents with the commander is the most interesting thing. But I don't think there's anything hard about it at all, Jinhai smiled. While saying, by the way, will the commander go to the royal side later? Qin Ji touched his nose and said, Guanghui has already made an invitation. If I don't go, it would be really unreasonable. Haha, that's right, Jinhai smiled. It just makes me relax a little bit, but commander, don't work too hard, after all, your health is important. Qin Ji rolled his eyes. What does it mean to work too hard? You don't have to do that kind of thing to go to Guanghui. There is a saying that goes, a little separation is better than a new marriage. Commander, you don't need to explain too much. I understand this situation. As long as it doesn't affect your work, I will support you no matter what, Jinhai said with a smile. Also, you don't have to come so early tomorrow morning. Just go have breakfast and other things with Miss Guanghui. Because they have been together with Jinhai recently, they often have breakfast together. Even when they sleep alone at night, when they come to the command hall the next day, it is Jinhai who brings breakfast. Oh, I know that. Then go and eat and rest early. I'll go there first, Qin Ji nodded, still very touched in his heart. The two of them have been together for so long. You can understand these words just by mentioning them, and don't need too much explanation. Well, go quickly, the lady must be waiting impatiently, Jinhai said. Leaving the command hall with brisk steps, Qin Ji walked towards the area where the royal family was. In fact, he was very happy that Guanghui came back from the front line. Although my wedding fleet has become numerous now, the first step I took is still deeply memorable. Therefore, Qin Ji always has more unique feelings for Guanghui than others. So he was still looking forward to this invitation. The main control center of the entire Fortress C area is actually not big. The core main control hall has been recruited by Qin Ji to become the command hall, and other surrounding buildings have also been transformed into dormitories suitable for ship girls by Manjiu, who follows the team. The area here is also divided into 5 areas. One area belongs to the warehouse and the area used by the logistics supply and communication office, while the other 4 areas belong to Donghuang, Royal, Northern United, and Kong. In this world, reinforcements came from the Donghuang camp, the Chongying camp and the Northern United camp. As for Yiyan and the others, they are with Donghuang. After all, Donghuang has fewer ships, and their personalities are better, so there won't be any conflicts when the two are put together. These 5 areas are close to each other and distributed around the command hall, so it is very convenient to go to any area from the command hall. From the corridor surrounding the command hall to the passage leading to the royal family, Qin Ji walked in without hesitation and met a ship girl face to face. Hey, little piggy. Ajax, just call the commander as many times as I have to say, Qin Ji silently greeted Ajax in front of him. As the wise general of the royal family, Ajax has a very powerful strategy and can easily read people's hearts. Although it is not as good as Jinhai and Tianchen, it is still on the same level as the ship girls like Shentong. The royal family is in the sea, and many strategies are planned by her. Although her own firepower may be worse than others, she can provide great help to the fleet. But Ajax has a very big problem. Of course, this problem is only for you Shinji. That's what she called Shinji just now. Little piggy and all, it makes people scratch their heads when they hear it, but I can't be angry with her yet. After all, I learned from Prince Eugen that little rabbits, little bears, etc. are all names for people close to them. So it is very possible that the little piggy feels that Shinji is very close to Ajax, so he is called like this. Haha, you don't have the right to refuse. After all, you are the only one who can arouse my sadistic feelings from birth to now. Yes, you are like the destined person of Ajax. How about it, happy really? Ajax held his face with his hands, a playful expression on his face. Shinji rolled his eyes. I really thank you, but why are you still here if you don't rest so late? I remember you came back for supplies. After such a long battle, take advantage of this time to have a good rest. You have to leave here tomorrow and go to the front line again. What do you think? Ajax laughed. Shinji pinched his forehead. You have been sleeping since you came back, so you are hungry. Haha, the little piggy is a little piggy, so stupid and cute, Ajax said with a smile. For us, time on the ship is about rest, and coming back here is more about leisure, so I showed up here so late because I was going to go to Yan Yan to confirm the situation. Huh? What's going on? If there's anything unusual, just ask me directly, Shinji said. Haha, although little piggy behaved very well, I believe you came here to see Miss Guanghui, right? So I won't take up your time, and my asking about Ember is not an abnormal situation. Yes, I just want to ask how to deal with Emperor's agent, so there is no need to ask you directly, right? Ajax smiled. Shinji narrowed his eyes. So you met Empress agent this time? No, but I believe it will be soon. We haven't met any agent in several Siren strongholds in a row. There will definitely be surprises waiting for us in the future. We must be prepared before then, Ajax smiled. Okay, then you should go to bed early after asking. I will send information about this situation to your team later, so that more people will pay attention to the situation. Shinji nodded. The little piggy has become smart, that's it, Ajax waved with a smile, and then walked past Shinji. Looking at the departing figure, Shinji rubbed his forehead, sighed, and walked deeper into the corridor again. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 996. When I walked to Guanghui's door, I wanted to knock on it, but I unexpectedly found that the door was not closed. After a moment of confusion, Shinji opened the door and walked in. But he found that Guanghui was leaning on the chair at this time, closing his eyes slightly, with his hands folded on his lower abdomen, seeming to be sleeping soundly. On the table next to her was a half-drunk cup of coffee. This makes Shinji a little strange. After all, Guanghui usually likes black tea the most. Coffee is bitter and she has never been used to it. Why did she suddenly drink coffee today? But it seems that Shinji can't bear to disturb her now. But it was still uncomfortable to sleep on a chair like this, so Shinji planned to move Guanghui. At least hold her on the bed, it will be more comfortable to sleep like this. But when he put his hand on Guanghui's shoulder, Guanghui slowly woke up. These people immediately noticed Shinji, who was bending down, and couldn't help being surprised with a hint of embarrassment. Eh? Commander, are you done with your work? I'm sorry, I fell asleep sitting here and had no idea that the commander was already here. Seeing Guanghui's slightly flustered look, Shinji shook his head and said, it doesn't matter. If you're sleepy, just rest. I'll hold you on the bed now so you can have a better rest. With that said, Shinji was ready to hug her and pick her up. Guanghui stopped him quickly and finally waited until Shinji came over before going to sleep. It's okay. In fact, I wasn't sleepy at first because most of the people in the royal family went out to fight, and those who stayed in the fortress basically had things to do. The people who came back with me had to leave tomorrow, so I was always alone. People stay in the room. Maybe it was because of boredom or something, so I slowly fell asleep. But in order to wait for the commander, I was still going to make a cup of coffee and drink it to feel refreshed. Unexpectedly, after just a few sips, I fell asleep involuntarily. Guanghui explained quickly. Qin Ji asked funnily, "Do you really don't need to rest?" "No need really, I'm not sleepy at all now," Guanghui said quickly. "By the way, Commander, please sit here for now. I'll make you a cup of black tea. You must have been working hard all day. Let's drink a cup of tea to relieve fatigue. Also, have you eaten?" Guanghui said. Stood up and prepared to make tea by himself. Although as the eldest daughter of a royal aircraft carrier, logically speaking, she should rarely do these things, but maybe because of her long career as a free ship girl, Guanghui is not as squeamish as ordinary royal ship girls. "Not yet. I'll be here as soon as the work is completed." "But it doesn't matter. Just call the canteen later and ask them to deliver the things," Qin Ji said. In fact, this is not something special that Qin Ji does, because his usual workload is relatively large, and he is more focused when he is in the command hall and rarely feels hungry. That's why Qin Ji would have dinner when he had a rest every day. But the canteen had already closed at that time, so in order for Qin Ji to eat, it seemed necessary to open a small stove. "By the way, have you eaten, Guanghui? If not, I'll ask them to make more." "I've already eaten, but if I'm accompanying the commander, I can eat some more. But I don't need the staple food. If there are snacks in the cafeteria at this time, just bring some of that, it's just right for drinking black tea," Guanghui said. "Okay," Qin Ji agreed with a smile. The two of them felt very relaxed together and had no other worries. Therefore, Guanghui's elegant side seems to be restrained in front of others, but it reveals some simple feelings. Taking out his communicator, Qin Ji quickly contacted the ship girl in charge of the canteen. After briefly stating his request, he stopped taking care of it. The current canteen basically adopts the mode of cooperation between Kanyang and Manju, and since most of the ships in the Qin Ji fleet are the main force, the canteen is currently in charge of the Donghuan camp and the Chongying camp. They are also ship girls with good cooking skills deployed from their respective camps and are responsible for the food here in the fortress. So no matter from which aspect, the current situation achieved in this battle is the result of the joint cooperation of all parties. Putting down the communicator in his hand, Qin Ji looked at Guanghui, who was making tea not far away. "I saw Ajax when I came over just now. She was going to ask Ember about the Emperor's representative. So you haven't met the relevant agent in this period of time?" Guanghui nodded. "Well, logically speaking, there should be agents in the Siren strongholds or important key nodes in the C area. But the strange thing is that after arriving in C Area B, although the agents we met are all very strong, but they are also agents of other arbiters, and the Emperor's agent has almost never been encountered. Therefore, Ajax has some doubts about whether the predicted Emperor is in the fortress in the sea, or whether some brand new arbiter has come to this world." Qin Ji suddenly said, "It turns out to be like this, then I understand. The commander should have known about this earlier? Isn't information like this not mentioned in the daily combat report?" Guanghui asked doubtfully. Qin Ji shook his head. "The summary of combat reports is basically very simple. There are so many battles that occur in the sea area every day, so there are basically some battle losses and results. The Hong Kong camp generally says that it has defeated small, medium, or even large Siren fleets in the sea. Several of them are the executor units of the Siren elite, and several are the agent units of the arbiters. However, what kind of executor unit and what kind of arbiter unit are not specified in detail. After all, if such data must be collected, the workload will be a bit too much. So there are some things that you on the front line know very well, but for the headquarters in the rear, what you know is an overall aspect. Because of this, I rarely issue direct orders to the front line now, and basically leave it to the flagships of each squad to make their own decisions. Of course, the overall policy must be as planned and deployed in advance, so that the whole situation will not be messed up. So that's what it looks like. Guang Hui suddenly came to the table with the brewed black tea, put a cup of black tea in Qin Ji's hand, and said with a smile, "Then let's talk about these things tomorrow, Commander. Try it. I made the black tea myself, and let's talk about other things during the break." Haha, let's talk about other things. I have been thinking about things on the battlefield during this period, and my mind is a little tense, Qin Ji said with a smile. Hee, don't worry, Guang Hui will relax you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 997. Since we were inside the Siren Fortress, it was very difficult to get up with the first ray of sunshine in the morning. When he opened his sleepy eyes, the dark yellow but warm light made Qin Ji worried. I habitually raised my hand to look at the alarm clock on the bedside, only to find that there was no alarm clock at all. Instead there was a black teacup. Qin Ji suddenly realized that he did not spend the night in his room last night. He and Guang Hui chatted until very late. Even when they were sitting on the bed, the two of them cuddled up and talked a lot. So what happens after that is very simple. Since you are already here, why bother going back to your room? Thinking of this, Qin Ji turned his head and saw Guang Hui lying beside him. Although he was still asleep, his arms were tightly fixed with two arms. The wafting fragrance told Qin Ji what the gentle countryside is. Seeing this scene, Qin Ji shook his head in amusement, then raised his head and looked towards the end of the bed. Because he remembered that except for his own room, the layout of the rooms here seemed to be the same. I didn't find the alarm clock in Zhenhai's room at that time. After her reminder, I saw a wall clock on the wall at the end of the bed. Sure enough, Qin Ji also saw the same wall clock on the wall of Guang Hui's room. Is it 6 o'clock yet? Qin Ji looked at the time and yawned. It's time to get up. It is indeed time to wake up at this time. It might have been a little later before, but since receiving the protection, Qin Ji basically wakes up at this time every day. Then he turned sideways and kissed Guang Hui deeply on the lips. Such movement naturally made Guang Hui wake up. When he opened his eyes and saw the face so close to him, Guang Hui suddenly closed his eyes and relaxed. The arm he was holding stretched out his only movable arm and hugged Qin Ji's neck. The time he was immersed in the sweet kiss didn't last long. After all, it was early in the morning, and Qin Ji didn't want to accidentally misfire. Looking at Guang Hui's face turning rosy due to the kiss, he smiled and said, "Get up." Ah, Guang Hui was stunned for a moment as he was caught in the sweetness, waiting for Qin Ji's next move, and his already cute big eyes suddenly became clear. I thought the commander was planning a night attack. Qin Ji rolled his eyes. It's already 6 o'clock in the morning. You slept well last night, so there is no such thing as a night attack. Guang Hui's face turned rosy when he remembered what happened last night, and then he became worried and confused. Commander, will the behavior last night have any impact on you today? How about you rest for a while? Haha, now that I think about it, I didn't hear you say such words at the time. Qin Ji smiled. The two of them had such a long and pure communication last night. It can almost be traced back to the honeymoon period. Don't worry, I'm in good health now. Even if it's like last night every day, there won't be any problems. While saying this, Qin Ji reached out and grabbed Guang Hui's hand, and then slapped it on his chest. Hey, you hear that? This is what power feels like. Looking at Qin Ji playing tricks, Guang Hui couldn't help but laugh. I feel like Commander has become more confident this time I come back. Of course. Qin Ji grinned and said, after all, in the port area now, without a strong body, he might have become sick a long time ago. Although his body was very strong before, of course it was compared to normal people, but since the protection, it cannot be explained simply by being strong. Qin Ji felt that he really had a superhuman body now, but of course, he just didn't have the corresponding strength. But this is enough for him, because he doesn't want to be a savior like Superman. His biggest wish now is to accompany his ships and live happily like this. The two of them got up amidst such laughter, and it didn't take long to pack up. They left the room and walked out of the royal passage to the passage where the logistics supplies were located. After all, the cafeteria is right there. There were not many people in the canteen in the early morning, but it opened early. Commander Qin Ji, why did you remember to eat in the cafeteria today? Hearing a familiar voice, Qin Ji and Guang Hui looked towards a dining place. Good morning Yuxian. It was always like that before. It was a bit too troublesome, so I will come here to eat in the future, Qin Ji said with a smile. Haha, is it the same as before? Yuxian asked. Same, Qin Ji said cheerfully. Okay, where is Miss Guang Hui? Yuxian asked with a smile. Similarly, I haven't eaten anything made by Miss Yuxian for a long time, Guang Hui said with a smile. Then too, please wait a moment. Good. Qin Ji sat at a dining table with Guang Hui. Guang Hui looked at the busy Yuxian and said with a smile, it feels like I'm back at the Commander's Academy with the Commander. Ha, obviously when the two of us arrived at the Commander's Academy, every meal was brought back by Bifa, Qin Ji said with a smile. Well, even though it is like this, it tastes the same as that time, Guang Hui said with a blush. Indeed, it tastes the same as before. Qin Ji also looked back at Yuxian. This Yuxian was the same Yuxian who was at the Commander Academy. When she heard that the kitchen at Siren Fortress needed someone, she signed up without hesitation at the Commander Academy. Due to some special reasons, Dong Huan quickly approved it, so she was also one of the first batch of logistics ship girls to come to Siren Fortress from Donghuang mainland. At first, when Qin Ji saw Yuxian, he was a little surprised. When he learned the reason, he was deeply in admiration. Although frontline logistics supply positions are not as dangerous as combat units, they also bear corresponding risks. Everyone who can come here is contributing to this war. Therefore, even when facing some ship girls from other camps that he is not familiar with, Qin Ji will communicate with them with the greatest respect. This also made almost all the logistics supply ship girls who came have a better opinion of Qin Ji, and also made everyone full of motivation, so from the day the base fortress was officially put into operation, until now, there has been no have any problems. Every position is fulfilling its responsibilities and striving to complete this combat mission perfectly. Just when Qin Ji was lost in his thoughts, a lively voice sounded. Hee, I know the Commander gets up very early every day, so you will definitely see him when you come to the cafeteria. Attracted by the sound, Qin Ji looked toward the door of the cafeteria, where several figures were standing there with smiles on their faces. Hey, how? You guys got up so early? Of course, because when I leave, I want to tell it personally, not just a simple report. My ship girl, my world. Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 998. After having breakfast with Hao and others, they quickly left the base and fortress after receiving supplies from the logistics office. Because Qin Ji's side did not have as many manpower as Bismarck's side, no matter what happened, his responsibilities were determined. Just like the matter of returning to the fortress for supplies, a plan had been made specifically for this. After all, the direction that each team is responsible for is determined. If the supplies are temporarily away, Someone needs to be temporarily responsible for the direction they were originally responsible for. The advantage of this is that it can maintain the comprehensiveness of the strategy as a whole, but the disadvantage is also obvious, that is, the time required to return to the base for supplies every time is very tight. Just like Howe and others, they come back one day and have to leave early the next morning. I had previously thought about sending a transport ship to deliver supplies to them, but in the end it was rejected. The situation in the Siren Sea area is too complicated. Even in the sea area that is now controlled, will a Siren fleet still emerge? A comprehensive supply like this will also require a lot of manpower. For safety reasons, we decided to return to the base to resupply. The current battle sea area is not far from the fortress, and a day's journey is not a big deal at all. Returning to the command hall with Guanghui Jinhai, Qin Ji began his day's work. Guanghui is also familiar with the work process here under the guidance of Jinhai. In fact, these are all very familiar to her. It's just that she has to become familiar with them all over again after changing the environment. The handover didn't take much time, and the two started working here together. After all, as a secretaryship, Jinhai's duty time has not yet come. Guanghui came back early, so he could rest, but in order to stay with Qin Ji for a while, he completely gave up the idea of resting. For her, being able to see her beloved and do the same thing with him may be the happiest thing. Even if I'm a little busy, it's not a big deal. Work quickly got on track and a few days flew by in the blink of an eye. Jinhai finally left the base fortress and headed to the front line with the Yuxian team who had returned for supplies. And finally, under such a steady strategy, the vanguard fleet at the forefront discovered the location of the last fortress sea area. In the command hall of the fortress where Qin Ji is located, Yuxian, Soviet Rosia, George V and Helena are all here. Opposite them were the phantoms of Bismarck, Musashi, and others. Looking over, basically the leaders of each camp in the port area, as well as the leaders of each camp on the Earth, were here. The reason why everyone is gathered here today is because we have discovered the location of the last fortress, and the submarine has also discovered information about the arbiter of that fortress, so the war is coming soon. And this battle is not fought by our side alone. From the previous discussion, we have already stated that we need your assistance, and now it is time to implement the decision. Qin Ji said it very simply, objectively stating the purpose of this gathering. Commander, based on the information obtained, who is the arbiter of the fortress sea area? Bismarck asked. This is the issue she is most concerned about. Although there have been many speculations about this, in the end, Qin Ji has to confirm it before she can know. As predicted before, the arbiter of the fortress waters is indeed Empress. Although our submarine did not find Empress, a large number of Empress was found within the fortress waters. Risa's agent. During the previous battles in the sea area, the representative of the fourth sea area arbiter could not be found, so even if there is a guess, I dare not make a conclusion. But now based on these agents who appeared, it has been possible to determine the arbiter stationed in the fortress sea area. So our next step is the strategy for Empress. Qin Ji said. So how does Commander Qin Ji think this battle will be fought? Bai Ying's company quickly asked. About this issue, wasn't it already determined from the beginning? Qin Ji smiled and said, although the damage in the previous strategy was relatively large, according to the progress of the strategy you are reporting now, you are now almost reaching the node of sea area B. All right. Yes, we are now close to the sea area attacked by the fleet led by the current commander, Bismarck said. Well, originally I wanted you to be a surprise force. When we attack the sea area of that fortress, you will break out halfway, encircle and then jointly strangle Empress. However, considering that the sea area may have been under surveillance by the Sirens, they know all our arrangements and next steps, so I think it is better to put our plans on the table instead of making such a strange move. Openly, launch an attack on the last Siren fortress. Qin Ji said while looking at everyone. Are we going to attack openly? Musashi smiled. Now our fleets are scattered and have captured 3 arbitrators. If we gather together, it is not difficult to jointly capture the last arbiter. Even though Empress power is stronger than the previous 3 arbiters, I believe we can succeed. Yes, that's what I thought too. So the next plan is to join forces. After getting fully equipped, we set off to the last fortress in the Siren Sea. As long as we capture this fortress, we will have opened up all the sea areas around the core sea area. The next step is to march towards the deepest place, and the final decisive battle will begin at that time. Where this world will go is determined by us at that moment. Qin Ji said. Unexpectedly, there is some pressure, but pressure is also the driving force for us to move forward. After such a long battle, the dawn of victory is just ahead. It is really exciting, George V said with a smile. Indeed, in fact, until now, I have just dreamed. I never thought that we could counterattack the Sirens and go straight to their core lair. If we win this battle, then I think such a victory will be enough to comfort us. We have always been for mankind. The ship girls and commanders who are fighting for this ocean, Wikaku said with a smile, with a hint of relaxation and strong expectation in his tone. In that case, let's discuss how to join forces next. Siren fleets will occasionally appear in the waters that are now under control, so it is impossible for everyone to go to the waters where the commander is. Someone must stay accordingly to continue to maintain the stability of the sea area and keep our logistics layout lines open. What does the commander think? Bismarck said. Well, let's talk about our opinions on this issue and finally summarize a feasible solution. This is also our purpose this time, Qin Ji said. Yes. My ship girl, my world. Author, Huangming Mu Ji. Chapter 999. When all the plans were arranged, the 2 fleets in the 2 sea areas were implemented according to the plan. The fleet led by Bismarck gradually began to tilt its main force in the direction of the sea area where Qin Ji was located. During this tilt, it did not forget to fulfill what Qin Ji said before and actively patrol the sea area that it had already controlled. Maintain the waterways needed to supply oil and ensure the safety and smoothness of supply lines. Of course, not too many troops were invested. Most of the arrangements were based on the dispatch of 1 or 2 ship girls from Qin Ji's side, and most of the power came from the awakened ship girls from other camps. Although most of them are not powerful enough to defeat the agent or participate in the battle against the arbiter. But it was enough to work with Qin Ji's ship girl to protect the shipping route and escort the supply line from harassment by the Siren fleet that suddenly appeared. Although there will be ships such as elite enforcers in these Siren fleets, with the help of Qin Ji's ship girl and the help of mass-produced missile warships to ensure the safety of the route, there is not much problem. After stabilizing the rear, Bismarck took the main force and began to approach the boundary of Sea Area B, preparing to join the Qin Ji fleet here. As soon as they entered Sea Area B, everyone saw the royal fleet also approaching from a distance. And the leader of the team is none other than the Royal Combat Commander, King George V. This distance is not very far, but after a while, the people and horses from the 2 directions merge together. You are moving very fast. I thought that I would wait in front of you this time, but I didn't expect that you would be the one waiting for me instead. George V was a little stunned. Musashi smiled and said, because we have controlled the DC area, we can ensure that there are not many Sirens in the sea area. After communicating with the commander, we can directly issue an order to move all fleets brought here. But we have just arrived, and we are not much faster than you. And the most important thing is that the Siren fortress in the Earth Sea is relatively close to here, so you are already very fast. Haha, I don't feel too frustrated anymore, and this time was originally to guide you. Now that we can successfully reunite, we have achieved what we planned before, and then we will act according to the follow-up plan. King George V did not dwell on this issue for too long. Instead, he smiled generously and said to everyone. Understood, the previous meeting has already explained that although we are in the nearby sea area, we don't know much about the situation in the sea area. The next arrangements will be troublesome to you. George V. Bismarck nodded. He did not directly intervene in the command of Sea Area B. Instead, he handed over the command of himself and everyone else to George V. In her opinion, her unfamiliarity with the sea area was a reason, but the bigger reason for her to hand over the command so directly was that the commander-in-chief of the sea area was Qin Ji. For herself, her mission has been completed. In the next time, she wants to be a warrior, like everyone else, to fight the final battle under the leadership of her commander. The commander didn't give such an order, just hand everyone over to me like this. Okay, George V was also stunned. After we successfully joined forces, we no longer had the previous strategic layout, so now our supreme commander should be said to be the commander, but the commander is not here, so as the person most familiar with the sea area, you should replace the commander distributed, said Bismarck. Well, since you have said this, let me continue. George V was not a hesitant person. Bismarck had already said so, and she had no reason to hesitate. First of all, there are currently 3 directions of attack in the sea area, and they are all based on areas and in a fan-shaped attack. Among them, the royal family is the main direction, and Donghuang and Bifang jointly provide assistance and complement the missing directions. Because of this, the current progress is relatively slow, but with your participation, I believe our speed will become faster. So just like this, the Sardinians and the Iron Bloods will go to support the Northern Alliance, expand the offensive cross-section of the Northern Alliance, and include more sea areas, and the target is the area around the Siren Fortress that has been discovered. As for Chongying and Iris, you are going to support Donghuang. Like Sardinia and Taixu in front, expand Donghuang's attack cross-section and include more sea areas. The same target is around the Siren Fortress that has been discovered. As for the White Eagle, you will unite with the Royal Fleet to make up for the current gap of the Royal Fleet being scattered, and also speed up the attack rhythm. The target is still around the Siren Fortress. I wonder if you are satisfied with this distribution? Asked King George V. Haha, there is nothing to be dissatisfied with. It is also a sea area strategy. As long as we achieve our goals, we will definitely implement detailed and clear allocations like this, Musashi said with a smile. Others also nodded, obviously having no objections to the allocation of George V. That's it? Next, you arrange the people in your camp. I will give you the accurate coordinates. You only need to go to the place with the corresponding coordinates to see them. As for this assignment, I will report it to the commander immediately to let him know everything that happened here. In addition, you camp leaders will not need to participate in the next battle for the time being. I also brought the commander's order with me this time. You guys come with me back to the fortress base where the commander is, if he has something to tell you, said King George V. Several people were stunned for a moment. Logically speaking, according to the current lineup assigned by George V, it is completely possible to advance towards the sea area of Siren Fortress. After the formation is ready, they can launch an attack on Siren Fortress. There is no need to go to Qin Dynasty, the fortress sea area where the song is located. But now that George V said this, it was obvious that Qin Ji had other ideas besides doing this. The commander didn't explain to you what he wanted to tell us, Veneto asked doubtfully. No, George V shook his head. The commander did not explain to me the specific plan for the next step, but he specifically told me to let you gather at the base and fortress. Obviously I have something to inform or discuss with you, so I took the come down and quickly assign the personnel, and we'll set off together. Everyone looked at each other and could see some confusion in each other's eyes. This idea was not explained in the last meeting, nor was it told to George V. It was obviously some very confidential actions, which made them a little curious. What kind of actions would make Qin Ji do such a secret? Understood. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Hwangming Muji. Chapter 1000. After quickly making arrangements for their own camps, several camp leaders, accompanied by George V., marched towards sea area where the base fortress was located. Along the way, Bismarck and others naturally exchanged a lot of information with George V. Although we usually conduct battle summaries and reports, due to limitations, many things can only be summarized. After all, it's impossible to give Qin Ji a long speech every battle report, right? This will not only increase his workload, but also cover up some key information. They are also very interested in the fleet led by Qin Ji's strategy for sea areas A and B, as well as what is happening now. It turns out that Strankus didn't use all his strength in the Atlantic Ocean before. The gravitational field, gravity field, and repulsion field. Although I heard the commander mention it before, I still want to hear you explain it in detail. It's a little clearer, George V said with some surprise as he listened to their process of conquering the EC area fortress. The combat report needs to be concise and clear, and it must be delivered to the commander so that he can understand it. We can only omit things like combat details and deliver some key information in each report. Musashi said with a smile. That's true, George V nodded. After all, the commander is not our ship girl. Although he is more proficient in command and situation control. But for battles and exploration of the enemy, these are not his strengths. Instead of making him waste time with all the complicated information, it is better to try to control each battle report within his comfort zone, so that he can know what happened at a glance and have a clear understanding of the battle. Understand that being like this is enough. As for some details of the battle and some reactions of the opponents, we can communicate with each other. I believe this is the reason why the commander usually asks us not to keep the distance between the camps so obvious, right? That's right, Bismarck nodded. For other camps in the world, maybe except for our own camp, other camps are rivals or allies. When guarding against the sirens, be wary of other camps that may pose a threat to your own camp. But we don't have such concerns, because we live in the same port area, have the same commander, and there is no conflict of interest between us, so we will think of them and go further. Indeed. Everyone smiled and nodded. This is what they are most proud of and what they cherish the most. Just like this battle, without such awareness, it would be impossible to successfully complete the task Qin Ji gave them. The exchanges about the battle continued. After all, it would take a long time to reach the base and fortress. Finally, after sailing in the sea until the morning of the next day, the command ship a few people were on slowly docked in the fortress waters. It was not Qin Ji who greeted them. In other words, after arriving in the fortress waters, due to the tedious work, Qin Ji could no longer greet the returning fleet every time. Welcome back, everyone, Guanghui said with a smile. Thank you, several people nodded. The commander is at work right now and I don't have time to come and greet you, so I have to do it for you. I hope you won't be angry, Guanghui said with a smile. Haha, that's not the case. This is a critical period of the battle, and it's not like we usually do in the port area. We don't have to ask the commander to come in person for everything, Enterprise said with a smile. Thank you for your understanding. Then I will take you to see the commander. Guanghui bowed under the smiles of everyone, turned around and led everyone towards the direction of the command hall. Through the long corridor, several people quickly arrived at the door of the command hall. Looking in from the door of the command hall, Qin Ji was lying on the table and processing documents seriously. His brows sometimes relaxed and sometimes frowned. It was obviously a problem that was troubling him. A few people walked in without stopping too much. Guanghui came to Qin Ji and whispered, "Commander, Bismarck and the others are back." Qin Ji suddenly raised his head and saw the Bismarcks behind Guanghui. Then his brows relaxed and a smile appeared on his face. "Welcome back, you guys. I'm sorry for not going out to greet you. The document at hand is somewhat important. I must give it my approval immediately and pass it on to the front line." "It's okay, Commander, work is the most important thing now, you can put other things aside. And as a leader, you should take the lead." Veneto smiled. "Haha, that's good. You guys wait here for a moment. This document will be sent soon. I will tell you why I called you back after I finish the instructions," Qin Ji said to several people. Seeing everyone nodding, Qin Ji turned to look at Guanghui and said, "Guanghui, go call the other people." "Understood, Commander." As Guanghui left, Qin Ji resumed his work on the documents at hand. After several other people watched in the command hall for a while, they simply came behind Qin Ji and looked at the document in his hand. "Is this coming from the Northern Alliance?" After just a few glances, Bismarck quickly judged the source. Well, Qin Ji didn't even raise his head. The sea area that the Northern Alliance is facing is close to the core sea area. There have been a lot of movements there recently, and they discovered a new model of Siren fleet there. This is one of the reasons for calling you back. After listening to Qin Ji's words, several people looking at the documents in the back looked at each other, and they all saw a hint of surprise in their eyes. After all, among the 4 sea areas now, each sea area is immediately adjacent to Sea Area C, where the core sea area is located. Key sea areas like this are patrolled almost every day to prevent the sirens from making any moves. But until now, no reliable information has been collected. However, the information now transmitted from the Northern Alliance can be seen that changes have indeed occurred in the core sea area, which makes several people a little confused. Why is it that the sea area where the change occurred is in Sea Area B, but no changes have occurred in other sea areas? Resisting the doubts about asking, no one continued to disturb King Tu's processing of documents. Instead, he left his side and looked at the projection of Sea Area B on the chart in detail. Soon, under the leadership of Guanghui, Yuxian and Soviet Rosia came to the command hall, and what was even more surprising was that Frederick the Great, who was at the experimental site in the port area, had also arrived here at some point. Base Fortress. Others may not understand the reason why Frederick the Great appeared here, but as the mastermind, how could Bismarck not understand? "Why are you here now?" "Haha, my child told me that it's almost time, so I'm here. My ship girl, my world." Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 1001. Facing Frederick the Great's answer, Bismarck was startled. As the planner of the entire experimental site, she knew what was in the experimental site. And so far, only myself, Frederick the Great and Qin Ji know about that thing. When I left the experimental site, I told Frederick the Great that that thing could only be used until the final decisive battle. Therefore, the disease made the war very anxious. Frederick the Great did not participate in the battle, but stuck to it, proving ground to prevent problems from arising there. But now Frederick the Great actually appeared here, and she said that he appeared under Qin Ji's order. It seemed that it was not that Frederick the Great noticed something. On the contrary, his commander had decided to fight a decisive battle. But now the fortress in Sea Area B has not been breached, and the entire sea area has not been completely controlled. Is my commander now going to prepare the last thing? Seeing Bismarck's confused look, Frederick the Great smiled and said, "You will know when the time comes." Okay, Bismarck didn't ask any more questions, but stood there, waiting for Qin Ji to finish the matter at hand. Of course, it was not just Bismarck at this time, but several other people were also a little confused. As for Frederick the Great, who had not participated in the war before, they learned from Qin Ji that Frederick the Great had a special mission. Now that Frederick the Great appears here, does that mean that his commander is ready to take action? Moreover, it would be impossible for them not to be curious about what kind of special mission Frederick the Great was performing. But Qin Ji didn't say much at first, so they didn't ask any more questions. As everyone greeted each other, the command hall fell into a somewhat silent environment for a short period of time. However, the silence did not last long. With the document in Monk Qin Ji's hand, the silence was broken after he breathed a long sigh of relief. Haha, it seems that everyone is here. Qin Ji stood up, looked at the ship girls beside him and smiled, "Thank you for your hard work. It is precisely because of your fighting during this period that we are now you can decide the final direction of this war here." "So Commander, what is going on?" Bismarck asked. The other ship girls also looked at Qin Ji, waiting for his answer. "Since entering the sea area, we have conquered 3 sea area fortresses until now, and the last sea area fortress is about to be officially conquered by us. I don't think we can't conquer that Siren fortress with our current strength, and under the joint control of everyone in Ember, the 4th Siren fortress that seems to be the most difficult to conquer may be much easier than the previous ones. So in view of this situation, I plan to not stop and rest after taking down the last Siren fortress, but to go all out and step into the last sea area," Qin Ji said. After hearing Qin Ji's words, several ship girls looked at each other, and their eyes showed that this was indeed the case. Although there were some guesses before, they were just guesses. In a situation like this, we can only confirm it until Qin Ji personally confirms it. According to the commander's opinion, it is indeed easier to attack the last maritime fortress than before. After all, our fleet has been fighting on 2 fronts since the beginning, and the number of people has never been uniform. And due to some reasons of conquering the sea area, the strength has always been incomplete. Now after the rendezvous, all our main forces are gathered together, including the power of Ember. Under these conditions of strength, as long as the final Arbiter Empress does not exceed Hermit and the others by too much, we can successfully win the sea area. However, this is only based on the available information. Things will not go as smoothly as we thought. What should we do if other variables arise? I'm not rejecting the commander's idea, but what if we have suffered a lot of damage after defeating in praise, and we don't have the power to continue pushing deeper into the sea? In other words, Empress is very powerful. What should we do if our attack is frustrated? These issues must be taken into consideration. I believe the commander will not ignore it, right? Asked Bismarck. The others nodded in agreement. Although the previous strategy seemed to be relatively smooth so far, they did not feel paralyzed or careless in their hearts at all. The Siren may have shown more power than this until now. If they underestimate the enemy rashly, the consequences that may arise are beyond their ability to bear. I have already considered what you just said, and I have quite good reasons. Qin Ji smiled at Bismarck, and then seemed to explain Bismarck's questions, but in fact he was telling everyone. The Flying Dragons know more about the Arbiter than we do, and I can get more detailed information from them. The Arbiter Empress is stronger than Hermit and the others. However, under the combined attack of the 3 Hermites, Empress will appear slightly weaker. This is the Arbiter. While they are very powerful individually, they become even more powerful when connected. In fact, you have also experienced this situation in the Atlantic Ocean at that time, so it should not be unfamiliar to you. But now the Siren has separated them and placed them in the 4 sea areas. This is obviously to test our strength, or it is another experiment and test. I believe that after experiencing these 3 sea areas, you must have some understanding of them. This is why when Ember and the others follow you to fight, the most important thing is to contain them, and they don't use too many attacks. The current situation shows that you have clearly passed such experiments and tests. Although there is still a 4th Siren fortress that has not been breached, it is only a matter of time. However, this battle has lasted a bit too long. With the energy we have now, I think we already have the power to end this battle. So I don't want to wait any longer, and the strategy for the Fourth Sea area will continue as usual. After the attack, we will use the power of Ember and our elite forces as the main body, and other ships that can still move as the auxiliary, to directly attack the core of the Siren. Although this behavior seems very risky, it is much better than letting the few arbiters that everyone defeated at that time fully recover and then engage in an endless war. And according to the intelligence sent to me by the Northern Alliance, the Siren's core sea area has now begun to move, and they will most likely launch a counter-attack while we attack the last sea area. This is why I have gathered you. Whether we are willing or not, or take the initiative or not, the final battle is very close to us. Rather than falling into passivity like this, it is better to make proactive decisions from now on and put everything on this action. After hearing what Qin Ji said, everyone was stunned. Combining some of the previous information and the documents in Qin Ji's hand, they could also understand why Qin Ji made such a decision. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Mu Ji. Chapter 1002. After Qin Ji proposed the subsequent battle strategy, Bismarck and others also elaborated on some of their own opinions on the final decisive battle. The overall plan went through some detailed modifications and was gradually confirmed in the end. However, after confirming the plan, what happened next shocked Bismarck and others. "What, Commander, you said you want to go to the front line with us?" Enterprise was stunned for a moment, looked at the smiling Qin Ji and said, "Commander, although I know you want to fight side by side with us, the front line is too dangerous. The enemy we face now is not the experimental agency or executor we faced before, but an arbiter that is more powerful than them. The weapons installed on their ships are not as simple as what you read in the report, so this idea is too dangerous, and we absolutely cannot watch you take risks." "That's right, Commander, as the Commander-in-Chief of this battle, has now fulfilled his responsibilities. The rest can be left to us. If you are asked to go to the front line, in case you are injured by a stray bullet or for some reason. If it does, then all of us will become sinners." Bismarck also nodded. Similar to the reaction of Bismarck and the company, several other people also strongly stopped Qin Ji's idea of going to the front line. The reason is that the front line is too dangerous. For ordinary ship girls, the front line is a meat grinder, let alone Qin Ji, who is only a human. Qin Ji touched his nose and said, "I know everything you said, and do you think I am the kind of hot-headed person who wants to cause trouble for you? I want to go to the front line, so I have a reason to go. The coming battle will be unpredictable. Only by being on the front line can we deeply grasp the dynamics on the battlefield and make adjustments to our plans. Now our plan is completely risky, full of coincidences, accidents, and uncertainties. Just like what you just said, only by adjusting our plan amidst constant changes can we achieve the final satisfactory effect. So I have to go to the front line, and the most important thing is that I have a way to protect myself, and I don't need you to worry about me." Naturally, he said this because now that he has Shinano's protection, there is nothing in this world that can hurt him. However, if this trump card is revealed directly to his ship girls, the chain reaction will be huge. Explode. For example, who is this Shinano? Why does this protection have such power? Why do you believe that? How should you answer when you are on your own? Are you telling me everything? At this moment, it is absolutely impossible to tell everything, so Qin Ji can only choose to hide it, but he must go to the front line. There are too many variables in the final battle. Who knows whether Siren and Ember will surprise him? He must go for the sake of the ship girls under his command. "Are you really sure, my commander?" Musashi looked at Qin Ji and said, "You have now shown the momentum to control the storm on the sea, and now you no longer have to prove anything to anyone. We are all now under your leadership, we are on the verge of victory. If you believe us, then you should leave all your uneasiness, all your confusion, all your fears to us, and just keep your eyes on your ideal and move forward." Musashi is right. If Commander is worried that changes in the overall situation will affect our plans, we will always report to you the situation on the front line. So please believe us, we have no desire for victory at all. Not weaker than the Commander. Veneto nodded. Qin smiled bitterly. It's not what you think. It's just that there are some things that I can't explain to you in detail now, but this time I have to go to the front line. Whether it's the final battle for this world or my career as a commander, I have to accompany you until the end. If it fails, then we will be buried in the sea together. If it succeeds, then we will disband and return to our fields. In the previous battle, you said that the situation was intense, and I can understand why you asked me to stop in a safe place, but at this moment, it is the end, so let me stay with you. And I am not rushing to the front like you. Just like before, I am behind you and do what a commander should do. Seeing that Qin Ji's attitude was so resolute and there was something in his words, Frederick the Great smiled and said, I understand my son very well. He is a very independent and thoughtful person. Now he wants to be with us. I can understand fighting side by side. As long as you can ensure your own safety, I think we should agree to your request. After all, in this fleet, you are the commander, and what we do is do our best to protect you from any harm. Frederick, all the ship girls were stunned, not expecting that Frederick the Great would say such a thing. Qin Ji was overjoyed. I'm sure, just focus on fighting and don't worry about me. I've been through so many battles, I know how to protect myself. Haha, that's good, Frederick the Great said with a smile. Then my children should prepare well, and we will prepare to set off tomorrow. No problem. Qin Ji said excitedly. Then you should go back and have a rest. Yes, after stopping a few doubtful ship girls, Frederick the Great was the first to leave the command hall. The others originally wanted to continue to dissuade them, but seeing the mysterious smile of Frederick the Great when he left, they all followed. And Frederick the Great did not go far at all. He only saw her leaning on the passage some distance away from the command hall, smiling and looking at the direction in which everyone was chasing. Why did you agree to take the risk, Commander? Obviously this time the battle can go more smoothly, and in the end you won't let us continue to dissuade you, George V asked impatiently as he approached. Haha, have you seen the firm look in my child's eyes? Do you think our dissuasion can persuade him? Frederick the Great said with a smile, so it is meaningless in the first place. Why do it? Woolen cloth? Also, didn't you listen carefully to what my children were saying before? He has the ability to defend himself, and there are many things he doesn't tell us. It seems that the long-term battle has made your thinking a little stiff. Aren't you surprised? Why is my child so determined to go to the front line? What is it about the front line that attracts him? And what is his ability to protect himself? Musashi was stunned. You mean, what else is hidden behind this matter? But all of this is what we have experienced with the commander. Apart from the things that Yi Yan knows, is there anything else that the commander is hiding? Who knows? But it will be very interesting to think about it. I can't wait to see what my child hides. As Frederick the Great spoke, he smiled fondly. Several ship girls looked at each other with thoughtful expressions. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 1003. At night, after Qin Ji finished his work, he should have gone back to her room with Guanghui as usual. However, since several leaders have returned, as a commander, going to the glorious room at night would make people feel lazy, so they can only return to their own room. But when he opened the door and stepped into the room, a figure had already appeared in his room. Musashi. Qin Ji was stunned for a moment and soon returned to normal. Shinji had actually made some mental preparations for the possibility of a ship girl coming to his room at night. Haha, it seems that you are not too surprised that I came to your room. Are you mentally prepared? Musashi said with a smile. Shinji waved his hand. Do I still need to make any mental preparations? When I was in Minato, my room was not a secret place. Whether it was Guanghui, Shinano, or other maids, they could come, and you've come here quite often, so you're almost used to it. Musashi smiled and said, really? Shinji hung his clothes on the hanger and looked back at Musashi, but in total, you don't come to my room that many times, and most of the time you come to Shinano. Haha, it's not because she likes to sleep in your room the most. Musashi couldn't help but curl up the corners of his mouth as he thought of his days in Minato. The commander's room hasn't been occupied for a long time, right? Shinji was stunned. How did you tell? Although I rarely live in my own room now, someone cleans it basically every day. Whether it's the maid team returning to the base from the front line, or some of the ship girls on duty here. So even though this room has been empty for a long time now, it still looks brand new. But what surprised Shinji was that Musashi could immediately tell that no one had lived in his room for a long time. Musashi smiled, then twitched his ears. Don't forget, the fox's nose is still very sensitive. There is a breath of yours in your room. Unfortunately, the breath of you in this room is very weak. If you live there regularly, it won't be like this. Although I can understand some of your behaviors, the tasks are quite heavy now, so it is better to keep yourself healthy and energetic. Shinji couldn't help but touch his nose. Ahem, everything about my body is fine. Those things will not affect my work. And you can also notice that I am in very good condition now. Musashi stood up with a smile, walked to Shinji, and put his hand on his chest. The powerful beating spread along her palms, making her smile grow even stronger. It seems that some changes have happened to you that I don't know about. Such a strong heartbeat and such a surging feeling. So why is all this happening? Or is this what you rely on? Shinji's eyes tightened. Well, even with such a body, he can't withstand the shells, right? Haha, you can't say that. Because so many miracles have happened to you, if you face danger and miracles happen again, I won't be surprised at all. What Yu Yan and the others said is very right. There are many possibilities for you, and it is not impossible for that possibility to happen when the time comes. Musashi smiled. So, what are you not telling us? Or do you think we can't be trusted? Shinji shook his head. I trust you more than I trust anyone else. I can feel it, but why don't you talk to us? Tell us what you know, and maybe it will change everything. It's not impossible, Musashi said. Shinji did not answer directly, but held Musashi's hand on his body. It is precisely because I trust you that I also ask you to trust me. I will not do anything to harm everyone, nor will I do anything to harm this person world things. All things have an end, and I believe you will see that end soon. I can explain to you any doubts you have at that time. When he said this, he paused for a moment. Maybe I won't need to explain it to you at that time. After all, I can already imagine the scene. Musashi took a deep look at Shinji. Since you have already said that, there is no need for me to ask further. But having said that, you are going to the battlefield tomorrow, but I still lack one thing. Aren't you going to give it to me? Shinji was stunned for a moment, looking at Musashi's half-smiling expression. He couldn't help but rub his nose. It's true, among the current camp leaders, you are the only one who still has Uxiankai, but what I'm going to give you now isn't it a bit too hasty? Logically speaking, you should find a sunny day and take a day for the two of you to go around and enjoy the world together. In this way, there will be a sense of ceremony, and you will not feel a little regretful when you look back on it in the future. Musashi smiled. I used to spend most of my time remembering the past, but the past has passed. It would be too wasteful to use the present time to commemorate the past. I plan to look forward, no matter what happens, whether it is relationships or future life. Therefore, if I feel regretful when I look back on the past, it must be because my current life is not satisfying. I believe that our future will definitely satisfy me, because that is always full of hope, isn't it? And I don't want to leave any disappointment. If you don't give it to me today, that would be the biggest regret. Shinji held his forehead and said, "Okay, you convinced me." Musashi smiled slightly and watched Shinji put down her hand, turned around and walked towards the cabinet. He opened the cabinet and cast his gaze on the upper mezzanine, where there was an exquisite box. Shinji reached out to open the box, and then took out a small dark blue box from inside. "Is this it?" "Haha, those are the things that children think about day and night," Musashi said while looking at the small box on Shin's finger. "It's not that exaggerated." Shinji scratched his head and reached out to open the box in his hand. A ring appeared in front of the two of them, and with the light in the room, the ring shone brightly. "However, I still have to ask, are you really ready?" Looking at Shinji's solemn gaze, Musashi chuckled and said, "From the moment I decided to protect you, I knew that this day would come. Instead of waiting, it would be better to take the initiative. I am not a passive person. And at this time, getting the most precious thing from you, isn't this the best encouragement for me? Then, please be my wedding ship." Shinji said, kneeling on one knee and looking at Musashi in front of him with a hint of solemnity. "It's an honor, my commander. My ship girl, my world." Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 1004. The command ship floated on the dark Red Sea. Except for the dark clouds and the red stone pillars that appeared suddenly in the sea from time to time, the sea area seemed a little deserted. Several days have passed since we left the fortress base, and all operations are currently proceeding steadily. After arriving at their destination, Bismarck and others originally wanted to leave a guard team to escort Shinji. After all, if a siren fleet suddenly appears in this area, leaving only one command ship here will definitely be a sheep in the tiger's mouth. However, Shinji waved his hand and refused, leaving only Guanghui and Helena, of course Helena from Ember. And told everyone not to worry, because there will be Ember's ship girls traveling across the world and coming to this world to participate in this final battle. Although Shinji said this, the ship girls still made sure that Helena had such a thing, and then left with peace of mind. Of course, they are not too far away, because the nearest fleet is only a few dozen kilometers away. So as long as there is a problem here, these ship girls can provide support at any time. Originally Shinji said no, but Bismarck said this was their bottom line, so Shinji could only agree. Therefore, the current situation emerged. The command ship followed the fleet in front and made corresponding movements, but it was also at a safe enough distance. "Commander, a new Ember ship girl is coming. I remember I didn't notify you about this, right? How did you know about it?" Helena sat next to Shinji and stared at him directly with her scarlet eyes. Compared to her usual calmness, she seemed to have a different emotion now. Shinji laughed, "Is there really someone coming? I'm just like Bismarck and they said that. It seems that I got it wrong." "Ah," Guanghui not far away raised his head and looked at the two people in front of him in surprise. "Commander, it turns out that you don't know if anyone from Ember is coming, and Helena didn't tell the commander any information? Everything I said before was just to make Bismarck and the others not to worry." Shinji smiled and nodded, "Yes, they are good at everything, but sometimes they just can't let me go. This will affect their performance on the battlefield, so instead of doing this, it is better to find such an excuse to let them go. You can completely relax and give your best on the battlefield." A smile appeared on Helena's lips. "I'm afraid it's not just that, right? Commander, tell me honestly, do you already know something? From your last reply to Bismarck and the others, to your attitude towards us now, these all prove that you understand us, no, or that you understand our purpose. Ah, Qin Ji was stunned for a moment, pretending not to know anything. I probably don't know you well. Of course, I still know a little, as we usually do when we get along, but isn't that what your purpose is? Make the world normal again? It is precisely for this purpose that we cooperated together, and you even joined my port area. Commander, you lied. Helena smiled lightly. Although I haven't been by your side for a long time, every time you lie, or every time you feel guilty, you can't help but blink. A blink of an eye. Although this habit is not good, for me, I still hope to keep it, because only in this way can I know whether the commander is hiding anything from me and whether he is treating me with the most sincere heart. Qin Ji was startled, then turned to look at Guanghui aside. Is there one? Guanghui shook his head and said with a smile, I didn't pay attention to small details like this. In other words, because I trust Commander, every word you said is the truth to me. I won't go imagine you telling some lies. Qin Ji couldn't help but smile, because I don't have to lie to you. Although it is very touching to see you trusting each other, it seems to have nothing to do with what we are talking about now. Helena interrupted, so what do you know, Commander? Logically speaking, it is the safest choice for you to stay in the base and fortress now. Legend has it that all the information in the sea area will not be collected there, but it can also ensure that the fleet can exert its maximum strength under remote command. But now you are here, and apart from your secretary's ship, you have left me alone by your side. It seems that all of this is filled with your trust in me, but I smell this trust to something else. Have you already met that person? Helena's words made Qin Ji's eyes tighten, and he immediately defended, that person? What are you talking about? Haha, it seems that my guess is correct. This is a carefully arranged game. According to the information you know, you will always be trapped in this cocoon until the last moment, when the answer to the mystery is revealed. But what you are showing now has made me unable to figure it out for some time, and I have already escaped from this cocoon. I believe that the person who can reveal the answers to all these questions to you without all of us knowing it does not exist in this world, but maybe it does exist in other worlds. Helena looked at Qin Ji and smiled. Obviously, that adult has spoiled the whole thing in advance in a way that we don't know. Although he won't tell you the details, he also lets you know the general direction. So much so that from the very beginning to now, your trust in us and your attitude towards antiques have all begun to change under the influence of this consciousness. So am I right, Commander? Qin Ji suddenly laughed, haha, I knew you would see it one day, because after all, I am not good at acting, and there is a big gap between me and you professional actors. Helena's eyes lit up, does this count as your admission? Do you know why I asked you to stay? Qin Ji did not answer, but turned to Helena and said, your ability to perceive and collect information is so strong that I even think I sent that message to Bismarck at that time. At that time, you already had your doubts, right? That's right, as a normal commander, the ship girl under you did not show her due strength. What you should have done was to ask, but you didn't do it. Instead, you chose to believe it, as if you knew this from the beginning. The same thing will happen. Helena looked at Qin Ji and said. Haha, but what I don't understand is that since you already know, why do you choose not to tell them? Aren't they the people you cherish the most? Yes, it is precisely because of this that I want them to take this opportunity to grow. I can't predict what the future will be like now. What I can do is to make them stronger so that they can be in the future world. Show your talents inside. It's really well intentioned. So, do you want me to pass this information back, or do you want to cover it up? Helena looked at Qin Ji with a bit of amusement on her face.